live with on Syntex Sports with Jalen Gillis on Syntex Primetime Sports. We're gonna be going live here on Syntex Sports in just a moment. But I want to give you a look in. This is kind of behind the scenes as you
behind the curtain a little
behind the curtain. We're in their studio that they're still in the process of building, but it actually looks amazing in here. And it's getting better. They making improvements each and every time I come through and do a show, man. So they're doing a great job with setting up everything, getting everything together. Again, we're gonna go through the first 25-minute segment here on my channel, as well as Jalen. I'm gonna give you a peek in, and then after that, you can go ahead and go over to Syntex Sports TV, and then you can go ahead and watch the rest of our programming. You can always go over there and watch the produced programming.
Yeah.
Because this is unproduced here. This is just me with my iPad up, with you guys looking in. But you can go to see the produced stuff at Syntex Sports Network. Jamal does a great job producing the show, man, and with multiple camera angles. And so I definitely encourage you guys to go over there and take a look.
You good on your side, Jamal?
About ready to go in?
Yeah. I think the PTZ shot is your shot when you gotta look up. At the camera.
Oh, okay, that's my camera right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, gotcha.
Yeah.
This is the last roll in right here. This is 26 seconds old.
Yeah, I believe so. I think so. Oh, he paused. I think he's starting the YouTube right now.
Oh, okay.
That's what's coming out of the program. Right.
Yeah, we're about to go live on Syntex Sports TV. Again, if you want to see the produced version of this podcast, you can go over on Syntex Sports Network and check it out. Make sure when you go over there, you like and subscribe when you go over there.
Definitely.
So please go check it out. We're about to talk a little Shedeur, as he has the attention of the sports media right now.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I don't think there's a bigger story out there than Shedeur Sanders, to be perfectly honest with you.
Biggest storyline.
I thought about it some yesterday. We're not live now, so we try to talk it behind. And I like to get you guys, hey, what's up? What's up? So I want to get you guys' opinion. We haven't went live yet. This is kind of a look for those of y'all who just are coming in. This is a look behind the scenes as we're about to get ready to go live on Syntex Sports Network. My question to you guys is definitely if he had not played as well as he did, would it be a bigger story, or would it have been a story either way?
It definitely a story either way, but I couldn't even imagine what they'd be saying right now. The outlets, if you went out there and was 5 for 20 with a pick, yeah, it would be nasty for Shedeur right now. But
and I had some guys. I saw some guys on the web that I watched. Actually, I watched Saturday, but these guys broadcast on Friday before the game. They were predicting an interception, pick six, 50% passing completion. They were.
Yeah, they sound like Tony Grossi. He must have been on that show saying that. Dude, that Shedeur had to come up to. Which one is? You want to go after this one? Yeah. We can see the countdown.
All right. Remember, we're not live on Syntex Sports yet. We're not live. You're looking in. Make sure you
live on YouTube.
Okay, we just went live on YouTube. Okay, cool. Go ahead and like this stream,
after this one.
And then go over to Syntex Sports Network and subscribe. I put the link in the description.
He said, hold on.
Yeah, hold on.
All right, we holding on. Hey,
You said we what?
hey, where are you guys?
He counted us in.
4, 3.
Hello and welcome back to Syntex Prime Time. I am your host, Jalen Gillis, on this beautiful Monday afternoon, getting ready to take you through the prime time topics in sports, not just here in the Central Texas area, but from all around the nation. We want to thank everybody for tuning in with us on this Football Monday, as we call it here during football season. We finally got some preseason football, so we are officially, in my book, in football season right now. I want to thank everybody for tuning in with us, whether that is on Syntex Sports TV / Syntex Sports Network, over on YouTube. Go over there and check us out. Hit that subscribe button, like, and share this stream, as we've got plenty to talk about here today. Obviously, we have to talk about Shedeur. We're going to hit a little bit of Shedeur topics today, talk about his opener for the Cleveland Browns this past weekend. We're going to talk about my top 3 storylines I have for this NFL season coming up. We'll talk about an injury to a key Baylor player that happened this past weekend in practice as well. And as always, we're going to touch some hot topics from around the world of sports, to things that we've seen from everywhere. And there's plenty to talk about this weekend because the NFL is back, folks. I know it's just preseason. Some people are, it's just these guys. It's not the main guys out there. If you're a football fan, you were watching football this weekend. As the great Jamie Foxx said on his Instagram this weekend, if you don't like Shedeur, you don't like football. That's what Jamie Foxx had to say. But folks, we're super excited. Like I said, you can watch with us over on YouTube. You can also tune in with us on Facebook. You'll be able to see some behind-the-scenes stuff on Rocky's page as well. So, folks, we got a lot to talk about. We're going to jump straight into it. Joining me here at the table, so we have every single week with us, Mr. Rocky Miller in the building. Rock, what's going on, man?
Hey, thank you, Jalen. As always, this is the highlight of my week, coming in here on. We may change my day from Tuesday to Monday, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
But yeah, I love being in here talking sports with you. One of my highlights of my week, and man, and after what I would consider a huge sports weekend,
yes,
talking and watching all the commentary about Shedeur. Also, I spent the weekend watching the WNBA, which is has fallen off of a cliff right now. Now that Shedeur is the biggest story in sports right now.
And unfortunately, Caitlin Clark hadn't played in like a month. I think that kind of tailed it off a little bit too, unfortunately, y'all. But
absolutely,
I tuned into a little WNBA. We got a WNBA topic in there that I'm gonna sneak in later on in the show as well. But folks, obviously, our headlines have been dominated by the NFL as they kick off their preseason this past weekend. And the number one most talked about thing has to be the Cleveland Browns. I know, just like you guys, that's your first time ever hearing that, and that's my first time ever saying that the number one topic is the Cleveland Browns. But it is, and not only for today, but for the foreseeable future going forward, because of number 12 out there in the orange, and that is Shedeur Sanders, man. Goes out and lights it up. I said the Shedeur takeover. That's what this is, not just from a football standpoint. Obviously, he played great out there in the field. But when you see the amount of fanfare out there, when you see the amount of jerseys, Cleveland Brown jerseys, Colorado jerseys, the game was in Carolina. They played against the Panthers. First off, let me say Cleveland Browns won 30-10 in Shedeur's preseason game. Shedeur goes out there, goes 14 for 23, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, played about 2.5 to 3 quarters. The amount of fans that were in that Carolina stadium with the Browns jerseys on. The Browns on a team that travels. Everybody knows about the dog pound, obviously, in Cleveland, out there when they're going to a Browns game. But this was something different. Thankfully, we got to see some behind-the-scenes footage, access given by Bucky on his YouTube channel, and just seeing the amount of fans. Well, shout out to Well Off Media for sure. The amount of fans waiting after the game just to try to get a picture with Shedeur. We're talking about the 5th-round pick, Shedeur. We're talking about the guy that was just listed 4th on the depth chart, Shedeur. We're talking about any player for the Cleveland Browns. I was saying before the show started today, Myles Garrett has been the best DN in football for 5 or 6 years. Shedeur is already a bigger star than Myles Garrett. This is the kind of fanfare that we're talking about that comes with Shedeur. his $14 million commission check from the NFL because of the clause that he negotiated to get a percentage of his jersey sales speaks to that. This is already one of the most, if not the most popular players in football, which is crazy to say for a guy getting their first start in the preseason. Now, before the game, everybody was talking, is Shedeur being set up to fail? He's got no reps with the first team. He's got no rep. He doesn't play with this guy. He's not getting that much action in practice. What is he going to do out there? Well, he goes out and looks just like he looked in Colorado. See, the thing is, in football, once you get to the higher levels, NFL, the coaches and GMs and personnel will have you questioning your own eyes. Like they see something different than what we see. But like Myles Garrett said to Shedeur on the sideline, we're going to need you later on because just like us, he's got eyes and he can see, man, this guy's better than him. No, regardless of the situation that he was put in, he went out there and thrived as usual. Rocky, what was your thoughts, man, seeing Shedeur go out there and shine in that first preseason game?
Well, I didn't. Again, he had been playing with getting the least amount of reps in preseason. With really being the healthiest.
Yeah, out of all three of the guys.
And I don't know if he was. I didn't know if he was prepared by Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff for the moment. That's what my concern was.
Yeah.
Not whether or not he was a gamer or not, because I watched him for 4 years. I watched him 2 years at Jackson State. I watched him 2 years at Colorado.
Absolutely.
I watched him exceed expectations each and every time. So I figured he would figure it out and eventually be able to make some plays, but I didn't know how well he was prepared. I didn't know how that would look to the media.
Mm-hmm.
If they were out there getting false starts, looked unorganized, looked disjointed, I know that was going to be put on Shedeur. I know that was going to be put on whether or not he was ready or not. I know that was going to speak to whether or not he was competent as a quarterback. So I wanted it to look a certain way. No matter how many plays he was able to make, I wanted it to look as if he was a competent quarterback. Yeah. And wow, he went out there and looked like a 5-year vet.
Yes.
He exceeded my expectations. And he just did a great job. He was calm. He was cool. If you look at him, when he dropped back and passed, it wasn't no happy feet. His feet were still. He kept his eyes downfield. He was, for the most part, able to deliver some very accurate balls. And more importantly, he consistently delivered the ball to the right guy each and every time. And so, man, I think it was I know Shedeur graded himself as a C+, but in my opinion, it was no less than a B+, A- effort. Because again, part of the evaluation, in my opinion, was how he handled the moment, how he handled the situation. And to be perfectly honest, I probably shouldn't be surprised how well he handled it, considered he's been prepared for this moment his entire life by the Hall of Fame dad he has, Deion Sanders.
He prepared for it, like you said, from Jackson State to Colorado to right now. For those of us that have watched that entire journey, that's what this looked like. That's exactly what this looked like. I watched him go out there and beat TCU in their first game at Colorado with the D- to D+ offensive line, with Travis Hunter and an okay group of receivers out there. This reminded me of that first game when we finally got to watch Colorado. What is it going to look like in Power 5 football? This is a different thing. This isn't the SWAC. This isn't the MEAC Challenge. And he goes out there and beats a team that just went to the national championship the year before that. I know that they had different players, but still, that's what this reminded me of. No, it wasn't the ones out there. No, it wasn't Carolina's ones that he was playing against, nor was he playing with Cleveland's ones. But when you get what you get, you go out there and do the best with what you have. That's exactly what he did. He's throwing an undrafted dude. Shout out to the Florida dude that got the one-handed grab over there on the sideline. He's playing with undrafted guys. He's playing with third and fourth string guys, and he still goes out there and performs well. Now, after the game, is what started to raise the question marks. Before this, I said, well, Shedeur is really only starting this game because of the injury reasons, and I get that. That is why he started the game. But after the game, started raising some more questions. I see Coach Kevin Stefanski shouting out, "Hey man, these are all the guys that got a turnover during the game. Shout out to this guy, he got a pick. Shout out to this guy that got the special teams play. What a great effort." No words about the rookie quarterback that starts for you. on a short notice, throws for 2 touchdowns and almost 150 yards. We can't even say that guy's name. Now, this is when the questions start getting raised up. Well, why is this guy 4th on the depth chart? Because what we saw out there on Friday was the same thing I'm sure Browns and Browns personnel have been seeing all throughout training camp. Why is he the last guy on the roster chart? Now this is where the questions start to get raised, in my opinion. They interviewed Coach Stefanski after the game, and I watched his pregame or his practice presser earlier today, and it seems like he's almost trying to avoid saying the word Shedeur. Like, no one wants to talk about it. Obviously, every question almost is about Shedeur. It's about the QB competition. Oh, every time it's, hey, so how does Shedeur do this? I like what all our quarterbacks did. Well, we're not talking about all the quarterbacks, Coach Stefanski. We're talking about Shedeur. I think that was a great time you could instill some confidence into your young rookie quarterback, saying, hey, man, this guy plays great. I think it's because you know the type of crowd reaction within your locker room you're going to get as soon as you say, hey, Shedeur, you played great. The whole locker room's going to get behind him. And then in the corner, there's going to be Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel and these other guys looking sad like Dylan Gabriel was doing on the sideline when they caught the picture of him. So I thought those were kind of strange. What do you think about how the coaches and Browns personnel so far have seemed to take the new recent success of Shedeur?
Well, again, I think so. Let me start out by saying I think Kevin Stefanski has kind of brought some of this scrutiny on himself because he came into this situation saying that it was a 4-man quarterback competition.
Yeah,
he didn't have to say that. He could have named the starter, right? And he could have said, name the backup, Kenny Pickett, and he could have said that we're going to just sit back and let the young guys develop.
Yeah,
that's what he could have said. He didn't have to be in this situation, but he said it was a 4-man open quarterback competition. So what does that tell us? We're looking to see who is the best quarterback of these 4.
Yep.
Early on, we determined that Kevin Stefanski was being a bit disingenuous, meaning that because of the way the refs was being split, it was not a fair quarterback competition. It was not. It wasn't. So it wasn't a real competition. Let's just say that it wasn't a real competition. And again, who am I? An armchair quarterback to question a veteran coach like Kevin Stefanski. But if you say one thing and clearly it appears to be something else, that's where we get to raise our eyebrows and say, is this guy, pissing on us and telling us it's raining?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you said it's an open quarterback competition. Clearly Joe Flacco was getting a large majority of the reps. He's with the 1s and 2s. Kenny Pickett is getting a share. Even Dylan Gabriel is running with the 1s occasionally. And Shedeur is overthrowing to equipment staff and defensive line coaches. So obviously there's one guy in this equation who obviously is not part of that quarterback competition, considering the repetitions, the even where he's put on the field. Right? So clearly what Kevin Stefanski said it's not. So what happens when you see a little something out of order? You go start to dig a little deeper, right?
Absolutely.
Right? It's almost like when the cop pulls you over and he says, "What's that smell?" when you let your window down.
Yeah.
He's gonna look a little deeper, isn't he?
Yeah.
Right? And when he looks a little deeper, he no telling what he's gonna find.
Yeah.
And what we found out that one, it wasn't an open quarterback competition. It was a quarterback exhibition. I think two things were happening. Truly, I believe it's in his best interest that he find out who's the best quarterback. But there was such an interest in how Shedeur is doing, he had to feed the masses something.
Yeah.
He had to feed them something. And just about the time I think the fan base was about to revolt, Kenny Pickett comes up lame.
Yeah.
So now he gets a convenient way to give Shedeur some reps under the bright light, so to speak, in the 11-on-11 drills. Then again, you got to remember how this happens. Dylan Gabriel goes with the 1s against the 2s, against the with the twos against the ones,
Mm-hmm.
and he has a horrible day.
Terrible.
Shedeur goes with the twos and threes and has a great day. I think that's the day he goes, 9 for 7,
Yeah.
7 for 9 for 2 touchdowns. I think that's the day, and all of a sudden, guess what? Dylan Gabriel comes up lame after going 3 for 14, right? So now, if you're having a competition, at that point, we know that one guy goes 7 for 9, 2 tubs. Another guy goes 3 for 14. He's thrown at least one interception during the 11-on-11 periods this week. One guy is almost falling out of the competition, so to speak.
Yeah.
If you compare apples to apples.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden he comes up lame, and then Shedeur is kind of thrust into a situation where he does get to run with the ones, and he does get to run with the twos, and he has going now. When they did have him with the twos, he was going against the first team Cleveland defense.
Yeah.
So he had a fair day, and then they had some days off, and then of course they come back and they have an inter squad scrimmage where he gets no reps in the 11-on-11 periods.
Yep.
Matter of fact, the two injured guys happen to somehow gut it out in the likes of Willis Reed.
Yeah.
Come back after being injured
Yep.
and get some 11-on-11 snaps in an inter-squad scrimmage. Now, again, I think that could have been two things. That could have been they figured Shedeur was going to get plenty of reps during the game,
Yeah.
or they didn't want to show Shedeur to the Panthers, because I think the Panthers need a backup quarterback, at least.
Absolutely.
Anyway, but to keep it going, so then Shedeur, with just a walkthrough, really. That's all he really had with the ones. That's all he could have with the ones, because he didn't get any on Wednesday.
Nope.
He didn't even get anything in the 11-on-11 drifts. He may have done the walkthrough on Thursday with the ones. The walkthrough is usually a closed practice, so we really don't know what happened there. And then, of course, he comes out Friday and has what I would consider under the circumstances, it was a great day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if he's measured like any other quarterback, it's just a fair day. But you can't take the context out of this evaluation of Shedeur Sanders, because you got to realize he probably had a total of 4 or 5 reps with the first and second team the entire training camp.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to do that with those guys. Now, luckily, as the game wore on, and I'm not surprised that he got better, because then what happened is some of the guys that he had been practicing with entered the game.
In the game. Florio included.
Yeah.
With the
Davis,
cut. Yeah.
Davis, the guy who threw 2 touchdowns to, Florio, I imagine those are the guys who have been running
Absolutely.
with him.
Yeah.
I think he threw a pass that went off the hands of Dante Johnson that early in the game. That was for a first down.
Mm-hmm.
Then he threw a BB to somebody, and they I consider it a drop.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is here, he had a great day in his first preseason game, and Kevin Stefanski, I can't see how he could be surprised, because I think he was hoping for one outcome, and he got the totally opposite. And the reason why I think he was hoping for a certain outcome, not that he hopes Shedeur is not a good player.
Mm-hmm.
He hopes that he can implement the plan that he came into the season wanting to implement.
Mm-hmm.
We all struggle with change at times.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like Cleveland may have to deviate from their original plan.
Yep.
Now, as they're approaching a deviation from the original plan, I read an article by Mary Kay Abbott early this morning, and it was posted by Joe Thomas yesterday.
Yeah.
Where it almost seems like the reason why he wasn't getting the number of reps he was supposed to be getting is because they had to get him up to speed. They had to get him used to the terminology. He hadn't had to practice calling complex plays. That he had to get the pre-snap stuff down, and luckily we were able to get him up to speed or whatever. And the real reason why he was able to play like that is because of the development and tutelage of Kevin Stefanski and Coach Tommy Rees. Like, they raised him.
Yeah. In 2 days. Because he didn't get no reps, no catch up to speed, no nothing. In 2 days, all his success goes to the great mind of Kevin Stefanski. And
with another whole week, he may be ready for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. He might just turn to Donovan McNabb or somebody in my week 2. Week 3, he'll be Patrick Mahomes if he keeps working with the great Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, man, I call BS on that, obviously. I don't, man, this West Coast offense, Shanahan-style system, these guys it's a thing about a guy that can run their system. We talked about it last week, and it's almost going to a fault at this point.
Watch this. I'm gonna give you. So they say Shedeur hadn't had in college, didn't have to call complex plays and do a bunch of pre-snap stuff or whatever. I'm gonna ask you a question. Who gave Kevin Stefanski his first coaching job in the NFL?
I'll let you.
Pat Shermer.
Okay.
Guess where Pat Shermer worked last year?
Where's that?
At Colorado. Guess who was Shedeur's offensive coordinator last year? Pat Shermer.
Yep.
The basis of Kevin Stefanski's offense was developed and under the development of what? Pat Shermer.
Absolutely.
So maybe the terminology may be different. The concepts are probably the same as
the exact same. The exact same.
So what do you mean? You and Shedeur learned from the same guy. What are you talking about?
The exact same guy.
Pat, look it up. You don't have to trust. You don't have to believe me. Go look it up.
No.
Pat Shermer hired Kevin Stefanski as a QC coach. Where do you think Kevin Stefanski developed his offensive philosophy from? This is almost like they think we're too dumb to do just a little research to find out to be able to call BS when they say something.
Yeah. That's exactly what they think.
They think we can't. So you're telling me the same guy who was his offensive coordinator last year actually hired you into the NFL. You worked under that guy. And now that Shedeur worked under the same guy that you worked under, he needed to be developed by the guy. He needed more development from the guy that developed you.
In a day. He got more all that development from you in a day.
Oh, yeah.
The one day that you practiced. Forget the 2 years you spent with Pat Shermer, like you said, the guy that put you on. But the one day he got with Kevin Stefanski just did such a great job. Hey,
first year Shedeur was at Colorado, the guy at Kent State was the OC, but Pat Shermer was the. A matter of fact, I believe Pat Shermer was an analyst at Jackson State, and then also was an analyst at Colorado. Eventually became an offensive coordinator. The last year. Yeah. My point is saying is he's worked extensively with Pat Shermer the same way Kevin Stefanski worked with Pat Shermer. I believe this. I believe Kevin Stefanski probably knows exactly what kind of quarterback Shedeur is.
Absolutely.
Shedeur is. And I think he's been trying to, he had a set of plans. And if he allows it to play out with equal reps, equal distribution of time, he probably knows that Shedeur will win hands down. But he's trying to, I'll say this. Our interest is to have the quarterback that we want to take snaps on day one. I don't know what we want is best for Shedeur. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you.
No.
It's the best story.
Yeah.
It's best for interest. But maybe Shedeur needs to watch from the sidelines and develop as a backup or a third team quarterback. Maybe that's what we need. But at the same time, then don't tell us it's a 4-man quarterback competition.
No, it's not. And it never was. It never was. It's a 4-man quarterback competition. They asked him about naming the starter today in practice. We're gonna get another week into it, and then we'll think about who we're gonna name as the guy. We're still not gonna name a guy, but we'll think some more about who we're gonna name as the guy after this week going into it. So yeah, I mean, there's inconsistencies all over this with the Cleveland Browns. Y'all are showing the inconsistencies as we get further and further behind the curtain. Your owner comes out and says, I didn't even want Shedeur. Like, we're just getting further and further back and unpeeling more layers to this story that has nothing to do with football. Most of this doesn't have anything to do with football. This has to do with the story of Shedeur Sanders. But like I said earlier today off camera, this is a tidal wave. It doesn't matter what you try to do. This story of Shedeur, his play, his impact on culture, this is a tidal wave. There were hundreds of Shedeur jerseys in Carolina for a preseason game. We're talking about two of the most unimportant franchises in the NFL. And all eyes were on one team, on one guy, Shedeur Sanders. You saw the fanfare out there. You saw the guys standing up and telling. I mean, there was people. If y'all haven't already, I keep shouting them out, but go to Well Off Media and check out some of the behind the scenes in that game. That'll open your eyes more into what fans are feeling, what the feeling is around this Cleveland team. We see Myles Garrett say, hey, we're going to need you. And to your point about Shedeur sitting, of course, that's not what everybody wants to see. But I've been a proponent. I've said it on this show multiple times of not only Shedeur, but I think all of the quarterbacks should sit for a year outside of those couple of guys that can come in and play right away. We saw C.J. Stroud do it. We saw Jaden Daniels do it last year. I think Cam Ward is going to be that guy this year. They can come in right away and you can plug and play. I'm always a proponent of the guys sitting. Sit back and learn. You can learn a lot more on the sidelines. We watched Patrick Mahomes do it. If Mahomes can sit for a year, all of y'all can sit for a year. If Aaron Rodgers can sit for 2 to 3 years, all of you guys can sit for a year and sit back and watch and learn. But the inconsistencies and stories between the Browns and what they're saying and what we're actually seeing with our two eyes, just like y'all try to make us believe that, well, Dylan Gabriel can really run this offense, and then we keep seeing with our eyes him not being good at football, like I told you guys a month ago. He wasn't good at football at Oregon. Why would I believe that he's going to magically become good at football now here at Cleveland in the pros? I don't think that's going to happen. What I'm interested to see, does Shedeur move up in this depth chart on Saturday when they play this preseason game? When does he come in? With the ones, with the twos? Because magically, all injuries went away today during practice. Everyone played. All 5 quarterbacks were active and playing and took snaps in today's practice. And nobody threw any picks. Everybody had a great day. So I'm trying to figure out what type of practice is this.
All right, man. That's Kevin Stefanski. You know what I mean?
He's
creating Hall of Famers out there.
Everybody had, I seen the stat line earlier, everybody had touchdowns. Nobody had picks. It was probably only 1 or 2 incompletions throughout the entire thing. I'm trying to figure out what type of practice was this, where nobody caught a pick. Or is Cleveland defense that bad? Nobody got a pick. Nobody got a pass breakup. Everything was just all touchdowns and all beautiful out there. So I'm not too sure about that. The question started to be raised, what I raised last week, but now it's starting to become more and more apparent to me. Is Shedeur becoming, before our eyes, the biggest star in the NFL? We watched the Nike commercial come out right after. Obviously, I can keep saying it. It's perfect timing. This is his quote of what he said. We watched him do this, and there's a still shot of about 20 Cleveland Browns fans standing up in Cleveland, in Carolina, during this game, all doing the same motion and the same. Are we watching a star, a guy become the biggest star in the NFL before our very eyes?
You know, there was a time when potentially, I'm saying no doubt, the biggest active star in sports was a guy named Tiger Woods.
Oh, by far.
And it was because of the story and his ability to win,
Yeah.
and the Nike machine behind him as well. I never would have thought in my lifetime that the biggest star in sports, but you can really say up until his demise, probably from after Jordan retired until LeBron's apex in probably 2010, Tiger was the biggest star in sports.
Absolutely.
Definitely the biggest star in America.
Yeah.
Well, now we have a guy that's coming in, and I don't think he's the biggest star in sports or biggest star in football, but we're watching that kind of ascension happen.
Yes.
And if his production matches the hype train that's behind him, this could go to great heights. You know, as popular as his dad was, and his dad truly was all that and then some. All that and a bag of chips for y'all. That's a retro.
Yeah.
That's a retro saying. He was all that. He was speed.
Yeah.
He was electrifying. He was a great baseball player. He was all that. But for all that his dad was, if somehow his son, his prodigy, can become just a decent NFL quarterback. Because again, his celebrity has been established for probably at least 5 years now.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and then going back to when they're playing clips now from his dad's reality TV show that nobody watches.
Yeah, nobody watches. I've seen more clips of it now than I did when he was there.
Matter of fact, they could re-air that right now.
And go crazy.
And it probably would go crazy. Yeah. But anyway, my point is saying that is that we're watching something special. Mm-hmm. And we can feel the pressure building. And unlike Tim Tebow, like a lot of Tim Tebow's support was based on his faith and what he represented in his faith. However, Shedeur's is driven by the culture.
Yes.
And his, again, and coming from a uber famous, now we can call a uber famous football fan. Right? So, again, I think this is an amazing story brewing and building. I think this is kind of what they hoped Arch Manning would
absolutely.
be in hopes that he can become.
Absolutely.
But the only thing stopping this tidal wave is an injury or some unforeseen lack of production by Shedeur, but I don't see that happening.
Nor do I.
But the hype train is down the tracks and can't nobody stop it.
No, there's nothing. All you can do is get run over by it or join on along, jump on the train with it. That's all you can do. Because they've tried. This last month has been trying to stop the train. I said earlier, Shedeur is almost turned into the candy man for Browns personnel. They scared to say his. They won't. Kevin Stefanski won't say his name. Even if they ask specific questions about Shedeur Sanders, he won't say the name Shedeur Sanders. I talked about how he was in the locker room and called out 10 guys, but won't call out your rookie QB that just went out there and put on the show. Honestly,
it's just preseason though.
That's for all the guys. It's out because we've already seen that. This is just preseason, guys. Why are we watching? I seen Stephen A. earlier. This was against the Carolina Panthers. Why are we getting worked up? It's preseason. Everybody looks the same out there. It's preseason.
What gets me is what gets me about this whole deal is they had it all figured out about why he was drafted in the 5th round. They knew why.
Had all the answers.
He wasn't that talented. All these things, right? And these are people who have covered the NFL for years. Now, we'll say this: the scouting community called out the NFL on this. They said, "Hey, man, you guys are crazy. This dude is a 1st-round draft pick. I don't know what you guys see, what you guys are afraid of, but he's a 1st-round draft pick." So I applaud the scouting community for sticking to their guns and saying what we all know. However, all the beat writers, all of the people that cover the NFL kind of started parroting the notion that he wasn't as good as we thought. He, and I even heard people say that his success was sort of orchestrated by his father. Like, we didn't watch the game. Like he got with Sonny Dykes and said, "Hey, on national TV, you're gonna let my son lead us to a comeback victory against you guys." Like it was all kind of rehearsed.
He told those linemen to never block for him for a year and become the most sacked quarterback in college football. I guess he told him that part too.
Yeah,
like, come on.
And so they were worried about the authenticity of those numbers. The fact that how can he be the most sacked and have the record for the highest completion percentage in NCAA history? Like, they're questioning that. And again, we all watch the games, guys. We watch the games. And what happened on Friday is what has happened for the last 4 years. I've watched Shedeur Sanders. I guess 5 now. So he drops back the pass. He surveys the defense. He throws to the open guy. He throws a catchable ball to the open guy. He makes the right decision 95% of the time. He does not usually put the ball in harm's way, and he throws it where only his guy can catch it. That's how he plays the game. If you're looking for a dynamic, explosive athlete at quarterback, that is not what he is. He is a operator. He is Tan Marino. No,
That's a good one though, Tan Marino. But I watch it with a guy that we watch every Sunday, Joe Burrow, who was picked number 1, who had all the exact same traits as Shedeur. Oh, he's not fast, Joe Burrow.
He didn't have Jamar Chase.
Yeah, and he did not have Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson
3 all
and
pro.
Terrence Marshall all on his roster, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Thaddeus Monster. Like, come on, man, the list goes on and on. The guys a joke, but I've said it probably a couple months ago. Those guys were described pre-draft the exact same way. One went number 1, one went in the 5th round of the draft pick. Y'all can decide why that is, and I keep coming up with these narratives. I see him still doing it now, trying to come up with more narratives for why that success was manufactured or whatever. I watched Chase Daniels break down and did a great job breaking down Shedeur's tape from that game, and as I'm listening to Chase Daniels go through it and watching the plays, I said maybe Kevin Stefanski or the beat writers were watching Shedeur and using those superlatives to describe Dillon Gabriel. Because they said, well, Dillon Gabriel, he's reading the defense well. I'm watching on both of his touchdowns, Shedeur was going to 3rd and 4th reads on those plays. Well, how many times do you see a 5th round quarterback, rookie quarterback, going to their 3rd and 4th reads? Usually it's, I'm going to stare down the first read. If that guy's not there, here's a check down. We're watching Shedeur go through, okay, here's 1, he's not open, here's 2, here's 3, oh, here's 4, here's a dot, touchdown.
So my co-host on HBCU Coach's Corner, Stephen Campbell, brought out that there's a difference between a guy knowing the playbook and actually being going out and doing what they're able to do it. He pointed out, Kellen Moore may have known the playbook better than Dak Prescott.
I'm sure he did.
When Romo went down. But obviously he probably wasn't able to execute the way that Dak was able to execute. So you can know the playbook, but you just can't execute the playbook. But here's my issue with the whole situation about Dillon Gabriel being a supercomputer. You don't tell us he's a supercomputer before the production. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? You mentioned that he's a supercomputer to kind of explain why he's successful. But you're giving us all of the precursors to why, he's really going to be good. He can process real fast. He's you know what I mean? Before he does anything on the field. And I should have known that was kind of fishy, because that's not usually how praise works. They usually praise you after you do something.
Absolutely.
They don't praise you before you do something. That was kind of fishy. Did you find that kind of peculiar as well?
That's exactly what it is. That never made sense to me, that before we even get to training camp, man, this is the smartest guy I've ever been around. This is the best. He can do everything out. We haven't even seen him throw a pass in training camp yet. And then we get out there and like, man, where was that reading you were talking about? Where was that supercomputer when he threw these 3 picks in practice against the 3rd string defense on the Cleveland Browns? Where was that stuff then? So we've never seen that before. Just like a few things in this scenario that we've never seen before. We've never seen a guy be ranked the highest QB, and I don't even agree with Mel Kiper all the time, but he stood on the table and said for the entire draft process, no, Shedeur Sanders is not only the best, he's not only a really good first-round QB, he's the best QB in this draft. He said it the entire time, and then all of a sudden, he goes in the 5th round, and now all the scouts don't know what they're talking about, and they gave us every reason why. But like I said before, they're trying to stop a tidal wave, and you all know that you cannot stop a tidal wave, and that's what Shedeur Sanders is as of right now. Where do you think he plays going into Saturday's game? Is he getting the first 10? Because now all 4 of the quarterbacks are playing now. Everybody's playing for their life at this point. No injuries hurt anymore. Whatever happens, because Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel, in my opinion, they're looking at each other now. It's no longer Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur. Kenny and Dillon are looking at each other like, one of us is not going to be here. Who's that one of us going to be? Where do you think Shedeur plays on Saturday now with all 4 quarterbacks being involved?
I think you play Dillon Gabriel, you play Kenny Pickett, and you play Shedeur.
Okay.
You let Shedeur mop up. I think you got to realize Shedeur got probably the best quality snaps that any quarterback is going to get preseason, other than the 3rd preseason game. The 3rd preseason game may be a dress rehearsal, but it may not be a dress rehearsal for every team. So depending on who they play, whatever. But you're at the point to where I think if they roll out Dylan first, right? I think clearly if they roll out Dylan first, they're looking at Dylan to try to salvage whatever's left of this QB competition.
Yeah.
If they roll out Kenny Pickett first, I think he's trade bait. You know, I really do. I think Kenny Pickett is in this situation where if he does well, if he goes out there and he lights it up, right? If he lights it up, then you possibly could flip him for a
late conditional.
a late conditional pick, and then going into the season, you say, hey, we have two backups. That way you can kind of save face with Dylan Gabriel. But at this point, I just don't. I think Shedeur's made the team.
Oh, for sure.
I think Shedeur's made the team, and then it's where he falls on the depth chart. And I wouldn't pay attention to anything that anybody says at this point, because if you really believe he's a fourth-string quarterback, then you'll cut him and put him on a practice squad. There's no chance they'll do that.
Not even close. He'll be picked up within 30 minutes of him being put on a practice squad.
Yeah.
There's no chance they'll do that. And I said a few weeks ago, Kenny Pickett's the only tradable asset on this team. I've been saying that. Obviously, you cannot trade Joe Flacco. No one's trading anything with Joe Flacco. Dylan Gabriel, I think other teams know he's not good, despite what Cleveland tried to tell us. So no, we're not going to trade for Dylan Gabriel. You ruined trading Shedeur is a career ruiner. You trade Shedeur and he turns out to be good. Stefanski's going to remain offensive coordinator, never be a head coach again. Andrew Berry has no chance of ever getting another.
Well, here's the deal. Here's why I say now. I believe Shedeur is a competent quarterback. I believe he can be an NFL franchise quarterback. The reason why you can't trade him is that if you trade him and all those other three guys suck.
Yeah.
What is that? What are you saying to your fan base?
Career ruiner.
What are you saying to your fan base? I mean, you're literally telling your fan base, hey, you don't deserve what you want because we want what we want.
Right. And that's what Cleveland is. A lot of teams do that, though. So, and that's true. A lot of teams will do
but
that.
But at least most times they give it. See, you got to understand this. I don't think it's other than Tebow and the Broncos were saved by the availability of a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You and then where do you trade him to so you don't have pressure to play him?
Yeah.
Up under another Hall of Fame quarterback, right?
Yeah.
You trade him to New England because guess what? You don't have to play him in that situation.
Yeah.
And so you kind of bury him in the depth chart for the lack of better. I don't see a scenario where Shedeur gets buried in the depth chart because if a team picks up Shedeur, it's because they need a quarterback.
Yeah.
If they cut him, they pick him up. I can easily see a team like the Saints. He's not going to stay one.
After what we just saw this weekend, come on. The Saints might personally fly down and come pick Shedeur up.
Yeah.
That's what we just
So that's what you kind of working with. I think Shedeur's made the team. I believe. Now there is a scenario I think where they keep all four quarterbacks. To be honest with you, because maybe they need that buffer in between Flacco and the rookies. You know, but if you end up going as Kenny Pickett, that means you're going to cut Flacco during the season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you end up keeping four, you go Flacco doesn't pan out, you insert Kenny Pickett, you cut Flacco.
Yeah.
You don't keep him on at that point. And once you go to Kenny Pickett at that point, then you're committed. You hope you can turn the season around, but if you can't, you immediately transition to let's get these young guys some work. It's just how early do you want to do that?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work with Flacco, is it worth it? My question is it worth giving Kenny Pickett a shot? I don't think it is. I think we know what Kenny Pickett is. He's had his chance. He was a quarterback on what I would consider one of the best franchises in the league, the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was their homegrown talent. He practiced right in the same practice and played at the same field they played in. They knew more. They had more information about Kenny Pickett than any other team in the league. They drafted him, tried to make it work. They couldn't make it work. They even early on, rather than start him, because remember he was on the roster, and then they picked up Russell Wilson and also Justin Fields.
Yes. Yeah.
And then traded him off the field. So you know what I mean. So they didn't, you know, for whatever anybody wants to say, they kind of knew what they had in Pickett.
Yeah,
And they didn't think very much of it.
No, they didn't think very much of it. And I honestly think the Cleveland Browns don't think that highly of him either. The writing is on the wall, folks. You can see it in everybody's body language on the sidelines. When you looked at all 5 of the quarterbacks, you look at Snoop Huntley. He's just happy that he's there. He's cool. Hey, I get an extra little check. I was sitting at the crib. I'm cool with this. Joe Flacco, his $3.5 million is guaranteed. He doesn't care what happens. He was cheering for Shedeur. He's happy for him. I don't care if Shedeur plays. He like to sit on the sideline and not get hit anymore. And my 41-year-old body doesn't take any hits and I get $3.5 million. Or you cut me and I go home and play with my kids and still make $3.5 million. I don't care what happened. Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel look stressed. They're walking around looking stressed. Their head is down. They're doing the baseball coach stance with looking down, spitting every 5 seconds. They don't know what to think of what's going on when they see Shedeur doing what he's doing. So that kind of tells me all I need to know. Obviously, this is the biggest story right now, what's going on with Shedeur, and it's going to continue to be the biggest story. We got to go into a quick break, folks. When we come back, got to talk about the big injury in the Baylor Nation, what happened there with their quarterback. Got to talk some more about what's going on in NFL training preseason, because despite what everybody sees, Shedeur wasn't the only person that played this last weekend. All 32 teams participated in the preseason. We'll talk about some of those guys, and we'll close it out, talk about some storylines going on around the world of sports. So stay tuned. Stay locked in with us right here on Syntax Primetime. We'll be back after this short break.
All right, guys. Hey, if you want to continue watching the show, go to Syntax Sports TV. That's Syntax Sports TV. Go over there, and you will see the produced version of this podcast. It's probably a much better view than this.
I like the behind the scenes, man.
Yeah. All right, much love, everybody. We'll catch you on the Syntax Sports side.